Andrew Nembhard scored 29 points to lead 7 players in double figures, and the Indiana Pacers led wire-to-wire in a 123-99 win over the Miami Heat on Saturday in Indianapolis. Micah Potter had 14 points and Jarace Walker added 13 for Indiana, which led by as many as 29 and won its second straight following a 13-game losing streak. T.J. McConnell and Aaron Nesmith scored 12 apiece. Pascal Siakam had 11 points and Johnny Furphy chipped in 10. The Heat shot just 39.1% from the field and 13.3% for 30 from three-point range in their first game since Tuesday. Miami's game against the host Chicago Bulls on Thursday was postponed due to moisture and slick conditions on the United Center floor. Tyler Herro led the Heat with 21 points, while Jamie Jaquez Jr. scored 16, Bam Adebayo added 13, and Andrew Wiggins had 11. Miami has lost 3 of its last 4 games. Indiana snapped a 7-game home losing streak while connecting on 44.9% of its shots from the field and 42.5%, 17 of 40, from beyond the arc. The Pacers sprinted to a 28-10 lead and extended their lead to 25 points before ending the opening quarter with a 36-18 advantage. The Pacers held Miami to 6 field goals in the period. Indiana's 25-point lead was the team's largest since November 28 against the Washington Wizards. Walker and Potter made back-to-back three-pointers to give the Pacers a 55-34 lead with 5:26 left in the second quarter. Miami missed its first 11 three-point shots before Norman Powell's tray cut the deficit to 61-45 at the half. Indiana held the Heat to 37% shooting in the first half. Nembhard had 16 points in the half to lead the Pacers, while Herro had 10 for the Heat. Miami battled back in the third quarter and pulled within 65-58 with 8:05 left in the period before Indiana used a 17-5 run to move ahead 82-63. Potter hit a pair of three-pointers during the critical stretch. The Pacers outscored Miami 38-27 in the third quarter and took a 99-72 lead into the final period. Indiana maintained its double-digit lead throughout the final period and cruised to its 8th win of the season. The Chicago Bulls officially postponed Thursday night's game versus the Miami Heat after a long delay at the United Center, citing court conditions. In the team statement, the Bulls said the game will be made up at a later date and tickets from tonight will be valid for the rescheduled matchup. Why was the Bulls game postponed? Bulls announced postponement after lengthy delay. Tip-off for Heat vs. Bulls was originally set for Thursday, January 8th, but the start time kept sliding as crews worked on the floor. Ultimately, the Bulls announcement made it official. No game tonight due to the court, and the NBA will move it to a later date. The Heat entered the night with a record of 20-17, and the Bulls at 17-20. What caused the court conditions issue? The quick version: condensation/moisture on the playing surface. NBC Sports Chicago reported the Bulls said the delay was caused by condensation forming on the court, pointing to above-average temperatures and humidity in the area. Earlier reports from the scene described moisture on the floor and staff using large mops while players waited. Chicago's rainy weather was also part of the backdrop. In the NBA, that's a non-starter from a safety standpoint. One slick spot is all it takes for a major injury risk. What it means for tickets and fans. The Bulls' statement included the most important detail for fans who bought seats. The game will be made up later. Tickets from tonight will be valid for the rescheduled game. If you can't attend the new date once it's announced, the safest guidance is to check your point of purchase, Ticketmaster/primary seller, or your resale platform, for the exact policy once the NBA posts the rescheduled date. The timing is brutal for both teams, too, because this matchup matters in the East race. Miami entered the night hovering in the thick of the playoff picture, while Chicago has been chasing position in the play-in mix, making a head-to-head result valuable in the standings and tiebreaker math. Now both clubs have to move on to their next scheduled games, then circle back later for an awkward makeup date squeezed into an already packed calendar. How to watch and stream Heat vs. Bulls when it's rescheduled. For fans searching, how to watch Heat vs. Bulls or how to stream Bulls vs. Heat, ESPN's game page listed the original broadcast partners as NBA TV, CHSN Chicago Sports Network, FanDuel's Sports Network Sun. Streaming availability can change when a game is rescheduled, but Miami's official where to watch page notes viewing options through FanDuel's Sports Network, including app/web options and provider availability, plus national TV and out-of-market options. Best tip: once the makeup date is announced, check the NBA app/game listing and your local provider guide again. Reschedules sometimes shift channels. What's next for the Bulls and the arena calendar? Chicago's schedule doesn't stop. The United Center calendar shows upcoming events immediately after this one, including another Bulls home date shortly after. That's why postponements can take time to resolve. The NBA has to fit the makeup game into two teams' travel schedules and the arena's availability. The Miami Heat have not had the best campaign this season, as they have had a roller coaster record. They have a 20-18 record ahead of their game against the Oklahoma City Thunder, which is a decent tally. However, they would have loved to maintain their red-hot form early in the season. As the defending champions, the Thunder have a huge target on their backs. Since they have not had the best past month, the Thunder are more wary of their opponents. Even though the Heat have not been the best team, the Thunder are giving them the due respect they deserve. Daigneault has immense respect for the Heat. As the latest head coach champion, Marc Daigneault always has immense respect for his opponents. Considering he is going up against two-time champion head coach Erik Spoelstra, Daigneault is up for a tough tactical battle. Apart from Spoelstra's superb coaching, Daigneault also knows that the Heat are always a tough team to play against. Even when they are not playing like the best team in the league, they always make it hard to beat them. As they were about to play against the Heat on Sunday, Daigneault made sure to commend his opponents. Miami has one of the toughest teams to play against in the league, even though it is not as successful as the Thunder. That's a program we have a ton of respect for. They're a privilege to compete against because of how much endurance they've had in the NBA about doing it a certain way. They're a different team every year, Daigneault said ahead of the Thunder's game against the Heat on Sunday. Their level of success is different every year, as it is for every team, but the bar for that team is very high. It's a great team to test yourself against. I love when we play against them because it's a game you have to earn. If you get it, if you don't, they'll teach you a lesson. It has been a tough stretch for the Heat to start 2026. They have learned many lessons, despite occasional lack of effort, but Spoelstra is convincing them to play much better. In the long run, the Heat have bright potential, but it will be a long process. Another impactful move shook the NBA scene with the confirmation of a trade that sends Michael Porter Jr. to the Miami Heat. Looking to elevate their roster and return to the top of the Eastern Conference, the Florida franchise is betting on the offensive talent of the forward, who stood out with the Denver Nuggets for his ability to score in volume and efficiency, especially from the perimeter. Porter Jr.'s arrival fulfills a long-standing demand from the Heat for more court spacing and offensive options, something fundamental to maximizing the game of Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. For the Nuggets, the player's departure represents a strategic decision to reorganize the roster, whether due to the need for financial adjustments or the search for new pieces to complement Nikola Jokic. The trade marks a new chapter for both teams and increases expectations about how Porter Jr. will adapt to Miami's competitive and demanding culture next season.